All right, we're here another week, Thursday evening, live session. And today's topic we're going to be going over for our property managers. I think it's a pretty good topic, a pretty interesting one. And it's kind of flowing. It's going to be called Why It Matters That You Show Up, or just Why It Matters. So today's session, we're going to go over a few things. We're going to let a few people get in here, and we're going to get started here pretty soon. Hope you guys have had a great week. Today in Nashville, it is Thursday night, the 29th, and it is very cold, and we have experienced an ice storm the past 5 or 6 days. A lot of people have been without power. A lot of people have been without water, including the senior tower that we're going to discuss today. So we're going to let people get in here, and we're going to discuss why it matters, why our job matters. Not necessarily why your job matters, but why does it matter that we're on site and that we show up? Leave a like in the comment too. Drop where you guys are coming from. Have you experienced any winter weather this year? How is it going for you? What are you doing with your properties to prepare? I know a lot of my people up north, you guys, this is an easy segment for you. But down south here, we've had an extreme ice storm here in Nashville. So I believe it was so basically schools have been closed all week. We've got people calling out. And the tower, I believe it started snowing last weekend. And when it started to snow here in Nashville, they originally suggested that we would have anywhere between 15 to 18 inches of snow, which we knew that was not possible, or it could be possible, but we knew it was not likely. However, looking into this, what we ended up getting was literally, in some places, 2-3 inches of ice. Solid ice on top of, under the snow, and sometimes on top of the snow too. So we've got a lot of down trees here in Nashville. First time I've experienced exploding trees. A lot of limbs from the weight of the ice on the limbs have causing a lot of limbs to break. So power lines are down here in Nashville. And it's not just in Nashville. This is just where I'm speaking from. Put a like on where you guys are calling from too. A lot of down power lines because of the trees falling over. It's not necessarily the storm that did it. It was the weight of the ice that done it. So when the trees knocked down a lot of power lines here, the tower that I'm at, they have not had power. I believe the power went out last Saturday morning, and it was not restored until Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning. So they had went roughly 48 hours at the senior tower without power, without electricity. They did have water. So to all my Nashville people that do not have power and water still, we're still praying for you. We're still, if you need something, reach out in the comments. Prep and Prosper, we're here for you too, if you got some ideas and some property solutions. But today's subject, we're going to break down why it matters. Basically, what happened was this week, nobody could make it into the office. I was the only one that could make it in on Monday, Tuesday. Well, on Tuesday of this week. Monday, I believe the office was closed. Tuesday, we got to the office. Within 1 hour of the office being open, power comes back onto the building. When you restore power that's being out, and you've got a lot of seniors, they're gonna put pressure on on your plumbing lines. However, this was not that. That was not this situation. This was from the sprinkler system being back engaged. So once the power was on, next thing we know, I had a resident that came down to the office. Now, keep in mind, the office was originally going to be closed. I am a operations specialist. I am not on site each and every day at a certain property. I float to different properties. However, on this particular case, no one in the office could make it in. And typically when no one can make it in, if this would have been Monday the day before, no one would have been in the office. So I'm going to go through why it matters. I've spoken to a lot of property managers since COVID. We all want to work from home. We all want to work remotely. But however, when we are property managers, the owner has tasked us as property managers, leasing agents, assistants, whatever title, community managers you want to give yourself, with the task of taking care of the property. Now, how does that look? you have to be on site. Now, a lot of people say, no, we got systems in place. We have our payments online. We have our work orders online. We have everything that you need is online, so we don't need to keep the office open. However, one point, if something was to occur and there's an emergency, if no one is there to know or understand how to take care of that emergency, that could be the difference in 20 minutes of this sprinkler system going off, which is exactly what occurred this week, or 2 hours, because the closest maintenance personnel lives over an hour away from the property. And some of you guys that have maintenance that are on site, that doesn't necessarily mean on an off day or in a winter storm, this maintenance person that you think that lives on site, they may have something personal going on. They may not be at home, or they may be trapped somewhere else and can't get to you. In this situation, the maintenance personnel, along with the manager, live roughly 45 minutes to an hour away. In an ice storm, or after an ice storm, that 45-minute drive is going to be an hour and 45 minutes. So it would have been that way. We showed up, a resident came, stated that there was a leak in the system. I did go up and to investigate, and immediately there we noticed that basically the ceiling collapsed. And when the ceiling collapsed, I'm going to put a picture down there and go on my page and check out a picture on my on the thumbnail, and you will actually see a picture of the water. And it was a lot of water. From my estimate, from looking at ChatGPT and different ones, I mean, it can be anywhere between, let's look at what, 50 gallons per minute, that's 3,000 gallons per hour. So potentially, if that person, the maintenance personnel who normally handles this, was 1 hour away, that was over 3,000 additional gallons that would have been released. So far, 21 units were affected. Those 3,000 gallons from one sprinkler head. Luckily, we were only at one sprinkler head. If we would have had two, 6,000 gallons per hour. But this one sprinkler head, we were able to respond within 20 minutes. And in 20 minutes, this sprinkler head flooded 21 units. 21 units. So we want to make sure we keep that in mind. 21 units, that's 21 units that are damaged. That's 21 units that we have to have correspondence with residents on making sure our contractors can get in there. We had our water restoration company inside. That's 21 units. That's basically 21 machines that's going to be pulling water out of the cleaning up water, pulling water out of the walls, out of the apartment. It's going to be 21 fans that are going to be going. Individuals are going to have higher electricity bills. So that's one thing we've been getting a lot of questions on is electricity bills. That's something you can't stop because you would rather have a higher electricity bill than a mildew problem, a moisture problem, or even worse, a mold problem. So sometimes you have to let them know, but that's going to be 21 additional resident correspondence you have to have each and every day. Now, keep that in mind. If we weren't on site, if I had taken the day, and I'm not saying you put yourself in any danger on the ice. I was able to make it with the vehicle I drive in. I don't have small children in school. But if I hadn't made it in, that was going to be a catastrophe, and that would have been hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I even sent it to our asset manager, and our asset manager agreed. Well over $100,000 in additional damage that would have been caused if A, we wouldn't have been there, we didn't have keys, or we didn't know what to do. So one of the things also that's going to be a good point here is make sure if you can, talk to your maintenance team, talk to your leasing office, have your weekly meetings. In these meetings, it's okay if you have different staff members basically lead these meetings. That's something that I learned from a great supervisor I had one time. Have different people lead meetings and have different topics on them. Maintenance could lead a meeting. Let's have a plan together of if there was, and I know you guys that are way more advanced than me or advanced in this field, you may know what to do. But if you are unsure, if there is any type of emergency situation that involves fire, that involves water, that involves evacuating quickly, think and talk to your staff and your maintenance personnel of, are we prepared? Do we have the steps in place to know? Who do we notify? What is the steps in place? How do we shut certain systems off? What do we need to call the fire department? Are they coming out? Who do we talk to? You need to have systems in place to where if there are large scale emergencies, that you have things in place to where you can respond quickly. If you don't respond quickly, that could be the difference of a lot of things happening. So when you have that much water that's traveling, you've got a lot of issues you're dealing with. You've got water that's running inside of the walls. It's going into electrical rooms. It's going into electrical places. In this instance, water was coming from the ceiling. It was coming out of the light fixtures. It was coming out of the stove outlet. So immediately what we did was we turned power off. Don't put yourself in any dangerous situation if you can, but we turned the power off at the breakers because we knew there were going to be a lot of issues. So what we immediately did was we knocked on each and every door with keys. We went into each and every apartment that was affected. We shut power off because this is going to be a dangerous situation if possible with the amount of water that was coming through. Or even if it wasn't dangerous, we wanted to be sure.